So do you know that you're landing, or yes, allowing and being a higher space of your own consciousness? Do you know that you are allowing a higher space of your own consciousness at whatever level you're ready to allow it? It's happening across the board for everyone. And the higher state, this higher field state of you, it's you, but it's you knowing you and allowing you and trusting you and being you at a deeper level. And as you're doing that, as I'm doing this, because it's everybody's doing this, as we're doing this at the same exact time, they're inseparable. The unified field is remembering itself through us, as us. Thank you for joining me today on the AwakenPod. So thank you for being this space. Thank you for being this space. I'm grateful to be with you. And we're going to talk today about how we are all navigating and experiencing this shift point of our consciousness, this shift point, expansiveness of us into a new level of how we understand ourselves and how we understand the world around us. So I made a little bit of a note here. I'd like to read it and then we'll talk about it, okay? So we're moving into higher field states of consciousness, and simultaneously, this is also, we could say, the unified field remembering itself. Just that alone, we could sit there for a minute, and that'd be pretty cool. So we have the individualized higher field states of consciousness, my life, my knowing, your life, your knowing. And then at the same time, we have this availability to allow the connection of, the realization of, that it is the unified field remembering itself in variation points. So we remember on a sacred soul level, and that's one increment. It's one increment of the movement of the consciousness. The sacred soul level, you remembering you at a greater capacity, if you will. That's one increment of movement of consciousness. Yes. And then it is also, and at the same time, the field. Yes. The field. Remembering itself as a whole. So we as humans in this now, we process the information in a very unique manner. And that assists with an even larger and greater movement of consciousness itself within the wholeness of the field. Within God, in the origin of it all. Within God, within the origin of it all. So let's talk about it. Let's think about it. Let's allow a moment with this space. And why would we do that? This is really beneficial. This space of knowing, this space of availability of faith and presence with ourselves is really beneficial. It brings in a balance point to everyday life. So for some people that may be hearing this and they're maybe more into the whole, well, I'd just like a little bit more guidance on how I can deal with my mother-in-law better. Or I would like a little bit more guidance on how I can shift my perspective on self-judgment or whatever it is. And all of that is really important and valuable. But if you will go here with me, no matter where you're coming in at, if you will go here with me to this space of letting yourself connect in with, think about, ponder. Yes. Your depth, your vastness as consciousness itself. That's having a now in this specific point as this you in this soul experience, your now, your life, and the way you are exploring and learning and growing and engaging, you, the world around you that you're creating and designing, that is not only your own self space of expansion, but it is simultaneously expanding the unified field that you are one with and of and as. It is simultaneously expanding wholeness itself that you are one and with and as. It is how God itself, source itself, spirit itself, origin point, prime consciousness, whatever word you're using, it is how that space of the whole, the one, is also remembering itself. So what's really cool about this is just allowing yourself to ponder that, to think about that, to connect in with that, brings in a space of that higher flow, so that as you're living your everyday life and you're dealing with the mother-in-law and you're dealing with the finances and you're dealing with the more 3D matrixy realities, if you will, the game, as you're dealing with it, you're dealing from a very different frequency. And that changes your point of view. And if you change your point of view, you change what you see. And if you change this space of connection of you change your world by allowing room and space for your vastness to be given a thought, to be held within a focus. You change your world by just thinking about that space of you. You bring that space of you in. And you know this because you could flip this coin and you could verify, you could confirm that you find, I find, we find that when we think about something that we're worried about, it starts to come in more. We start to see it more and experience it more to validate the worry. When we hold thoughts repetitively about a judgment on ourselves, we start to have more experiences in our everyday life that validate that judgment. So wherever we're putting our focus, wherever we're allowing our mind to go to repetitively at longer lengths of connection, if you will, yes, we're opening up the connection and the flow of that to ourselves. So when you place that on your vastness and you place that on your wholeness and you place that focus on your space of yourself that is the unified field, that opens. That connection flow strengthens and it brings a balance point into your life to help with the more, what we would say, everyday world that we are experiencing, and it is of value in this life. You're not stuck here. There are a lot of reality lines that are available that hold those types of fears and belief structures. People that believe that they don't have a say in this, And you should believe whatever you want to believe. I'm just saying there is a power available in the way in which you direct what you place your faith in, where you place your faith, what you choose to believe, what you choose to feed, because in doing so, you're setting yourself up to experience that connection. I believe I chose to be here.
Yes. Yes.
I believe I agreed to be here.
Yes.
I believe I had to, in a sense, train to be here. And I had to be at a certain level of conscious awareness, if you will, and a space of my divinity.
Yes.
And I don't mean that in an egoic way or a conceited way. I just mean that people who resonate with me and find my work and find my teachings, I think you're this as well. And I'm here to be a space of connection in which people can remember this. They can trust and lean into this and activate this space of themselves. That's what I do. I help people activate this space of remembrance in themselves. And once they do it, everything changes in the most beautiful way. Incrementally, absolutely, but it all moves. And it's all interconnected. So as I move in my individual life, the people in my life, the family, the friends,
Yes.
they are in my vicinity. They're in my energetic flow area. And so they're going to pick up on that frequency that I've shifted to. And they're going to be given the opportunity by themselves, by their own knowing, by their own feeling and sensing and connecting and journey on their own space of this exploration for them. They're going to give themselves the opportunity to resonate and or not. And for a very long time, I wanted everybody to resonate. And if they didn't resonate, I wanted to teach them how to resonate. And in a sense, I do kind of do that, but not with an attachment anymore. So when I first started doing this work, that was one thing that was really apparent and important that I make note of. And that was that there could be no attachment to what people did or didn't do with what I offered. It had to simply just be offered because I was here to offer it. And what was done with it was not in my, it wasn't up to me. And that was a very big difference and shift in my own consciousness from where I had been. Because before, the minute I would learn anything and have any new knowing and shift any of my own energy, I would automatically want everybody around me to be able to do so as well. And it's nothing wrong with that. I think it's part of the journey. It's part of the process of learning how to allow others their own journey and how to own your own. But like, I'll give you an example that's it's kind of funny now, I guess. And I love every space of me now. But early on in my spiritual journey, if you will, my life, knowing of me, earlier on, like probably I'm going to go with my 30s. I think I'm in my 30s when this happened. I was really still into going to church and Christian faith. And I was raised in it. And I still find a lot of beauty inside there. But I also have expanded a lot of those connection points for myself. But at that time in my 30s, I was still really into it at a very foundational space of alignment. And it excited me, the beauty of the relationship you could have with Jesus and the love inside of that, the comfort.
Yes.
And so I wanted everybody to have that, including my husband. And he was not into going to church. And he would go sometimes. But he just really wasn't into it. He wasn't raised with it. And he tried, and he did have pockets where he was like right there. He even played Jesus for me once in a play that I wrote for the church. And he carried a cross and had blood dripping down him, fake makeup and all. So I want you to understand the man has always been all in. He's fantastic that way. But at a spiritual level, he's just not, it's not how he does. He doesn't need the depth of the connectivity, of the community, of the service, of the ceremony. He doesn't process like that. Maybe he's more private, I don't know. But I wanted him to know, and I was in that alignment still of attached to what somebody else would do with what I was sharing, what I wanted them to feel because I was feeling it. And so I said, I'm going to go to church tomorrow. It was like Saturday night or something. And I remember I was standing in the doorway of the room and I said, I'm going to go to church tomorrow. Do you want to go with me? I'm going to do the 11 a.m. service. I'd really like for you to go with me. I'm able to laugh now, but I wasn't able to laugh then. So he says to me, no, I don't really want to go, baby, but you go. I just don't want to go. And I said to him, wow, really? Well, it's a good thing Jesus didn't say that the day he died on the cross for you. I know, right? Yeah. That's how bad I wanted them all to know what I knew and feel what I felt. And at that point, I had such an attachment to it that that's what came out of my mouth. And it wasn't of any benefit to anyone, except in now being able to tell the story, because it's very helpful that then later on, 20 years later, I'm doing this outreach and this work, and I'm building this business and these content sites, and I'm sharing higher dimensional information to help people birth higher dimensional realities for themselves. And I know as I enter into the space of doing this and building the business and building the outreach and making the content, I know that I cannot hold attachment to what anybody does with it. Because it would be a lower field. It would be a lower vibration of alignment that I would be then trying to do this in. And in order to share higher dimensional information, you have to come from a higher dimensional mindset and higher dimensional trust state. And in that space, you don't carry that attachment. You don't care who does what with it or if they do nothing with it. You're just doing it because you know it's the right thing to do and it's what you're here to do. And it's extremely freeing and liberating and beautiful. Everybody is on their own journey. Everybody is on their own path. And everybody is in a very unique space of register. So as they're having their life or they're watching your life, they're going to have an interpretation that you may not even know or you don't have. But we can't make them have our interpretation. It's unique to the space of consciousness holding the alignment of that interpretation. And every single space of consciousness is expanding in the increment that is most valuable to that space. And every single human being is moving into a higher field state of consciousness in a unique, individualized manner. Some spaces, some humans, you will think they're not moving at all. But that increment that's going on could be like a more behind the scenes movement that hasn't turned into a outwardly seeable or noticeable movement. But that doesn't mean it's not happening or it's still not valuable. It just means that's their way of doing it. And one day it may shift into a way of being very visible by you and others that they've shifted. But right now, their increment is more internal. It's more, yes, private. And even so, as it's that increment and private, more softer type of incremental shift happening in the background, it's still also a space of the unified field moving as well. It's still a space of Source itself, God itself,
Yes.
moving as well. Because that's how vast this is. Another thought that I love, that I like to ponder, I like to imagine, and I do this often. My days are filled with these types of thoughts. They didn't used to be, but they are now. But another thought I love to have is how consciousness slows itself down to become form.
Yes.
And I like to imagine my consciousness, my soul, my light, my spirit that is eternal, that's inside of my vessel, that's inside of these eyes right here, right now, looking at you. I like to imagine this soul space of myself.
Yes.
Where it was before entering in my mother's womb to be this life. Where I was before this life ever existed.
Yes.
I like to imagine that and feel into that. There's a beautiful peace there, you know. There's an expansiveness there. And then I imagine other spaces I've been and other spaces I'll be. And I imagine the connective lines of energy, of that light, of that soul, of that consciousness within this tapestry or this grand weaving of light that is the entire field itself, that at its wholeness and its unified flow state is Source. And as each line, each thread of the tapestry expands, moves into additional spaces, additional lines, additional weaves, the tapestry expands, the field expands, God expands. It's all one consciousness in variation points, having nows. Yes, and remembering that or allowing that connection of thought, of belief, of knowing. For me, it's the peace that passes all understanding. And it brings that type of groundedness and peace into my everyday world. And some spaces of my everyday world are in more need of that peace. And other spaces may not be as in need of that peace, you know. But it's invaluable. It's I offer it here in this podcast, in this connection. I talk about it here because it's so beautiful. I would love someone else to see it with me. You ever notice how people love to share photos of like their children or their garden or, you know, themselves, their trips, whatever, right? We love to share what makes us happy. We love to share what brings us joy. And we love to share it with those that we love as well. And I do feel a love for you. I do feel a love for our community. And we have a beautiful community. We have the Patreon community, our Acasma family of light. And we have spaces in which people are being in our beautiful grid of light, our Acasma planet of light grid. And we have allowed an inner connectivity of that
Yes.
sacred love
Yes.
that we're all remembering, who are in this space of the journey, who are in this space of the exploration, in which we are allowing that reference point of our wholeness to be more available in our nowness. And we're registering and receiving and hearing and sensing and connecting with these higher dimensional realities, these higher dimensional knowings, these higher dimensional connection points. And they're coming in isn't the perfect word. Coming on isn't the perfect word, but we'll allow all of it. And they're activating as we're giving them our focus, as we're allowing them our connection. They're activating, we're activating, they are us.
Yes.
Remembering ourselves within a now.
Yes.
Remembering ourselves within a now. Allowing higher field states of consciousness within a now. And giving the opportunity of the remembrance of the unified field remembering itself. And the way in which we slow ourselves down to enter that womb and to come into this life. And in the slow down, I mean, it's incredible. It's so complex and sacred. But it's what consciousness does. And at certain points of that journey, it can become so slowed down in order to move into form, to experience itself at that level, to expand itself at that level, that it doesn't remember. But that's
Yes.
the most sacred part of the journey. The moments of remembrance. The moments of remembrance are the most sacred part of the journey. I used to think it was sad or difficult that humans forgot who they were. We forget who we are. And even my YouTube banner, it's been the same since day one. And I've had that site for many years now. And it says, remember your light. And my book I wrote says, remember who you are. And I know I'm here to help people with the memory, because that sacred remembrance moment is the sweet spot. But I don't look at the forgetting anymore as a negative. I look at the forgetting as a gift.
Yes.
An incredible gift that we give ourselves so that we can move ourselves into a richer, deeper level of remembrance than we have ever had before. And you cannot go deeper into that space of remembrance unless you forget first. And then it surges you through to that new level, to that new space, that higher field state of consciousness that you're now ready to be. And it happens,
Yes,
as we live awakened. So thank you for choosing to be a part of this AwakenPod,
yes,
and to allow these spaces of you.
yes.
It is always an honor. I am grateful to walk together, holy ones. Grateful. So, blessings upon all your nows. Keep leaning in, keep trusting, keep allowing, and keep listening with your heart. I love you. I love you. I love you.